Hello, hello. Welcome back yet again to the Bibbs Corner podcast. I am your host, as always, Mike Bibbins. On Twitter, at Bibbs Corner. And the Mavs have fallen to 0-2. Can't be too surprised playing the Lakers here on Christmas Day. The Lakers are the defending champions for a reason. They may have gotten stronger than they were last year even. So that part of it was fine. It is what it is. What is not fine is how we lost. And it was blatantly obvious for me, I will say before the tip, but after the first couple of minutes, it was obvious that the Lakers knew where our weakness lied and went straight for it. And that was going at the rim with ferocity and frequency and getting in the open floor and finishing at the rim. I think they have several guys with almost 20 points, Schroeder, Harrell, AD, and LeBron, and a lot of it was layups. Of course, they felt like every single open jump shot as well, but they played inside out. They went to the rim first. Going to the rim made us tighten up, and then the jump shots were there. So the key stat was the Mavs gave up 35 second chance points and scored 0. If you've been watching this team like I've been watching this team, that's not even, you can't even be surprised by that. You can't be surprised by that. Now, based on some comments that I saw from Rick Carlisle, he seemed somewhat surprised by that. But you know who you put on the floor, and you knew who we were playing against. So I don't know how you can be surprised by that. The Mavs' biggest issue is the inability to control what is going on in the paint. And quite honestly, there's been a lot of, well, KP's out, but KP doesn't quite fix that issue, in my opinion. He'll definitely help as far as the rim protection idea, but he is not the solution to that issue, and he shouldn't have to be the solution. That should not be the pressure that is on him. Can we win more games without solving that issue with KP? Of course. But it's a glaring hole in our team still. It's one that I think a lot of people maybe thought we could ignore, but it has become blatantly obvious that that is not the case. I had said I was going to keep this cold open short. We're about 3 minutes. That's not too bad. So anyway, I'm done rambling. I'm going to run through this box score so we can see what was done or what was not done. And then I did put the call out for some questions, so I'll answer those right after this break. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. Always a good thing. Nobody likes to pay for things if you don't have to. There's nice creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor actually distributes your podcast for you so it can be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other streaming platforms. You can make money from your podcast without having to have any minimum amount of listeners. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, folks, welcome back. Once again, I'm your host, Mike Bibbins, and we're going to get into the box score for the Mavs. Luka, it feels like he's having to do way too much, and it's not going well for him most of the time. 27 points, 4 boards, 7 assists, and a block for him tonight on 9 for 19 shooting. From the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and the shooting numbers weren't bad there. And then 7 for 8 from the line, which is also encouraging because it's showing a pattern of him hitting his free throws right now. So, again, you have to find the positives right now. So, him hitting his free throws is positive. He also only had 3 turnovers tonight, which is not bad considering the way we played. So, Luka will probably like some help. And he did get a little bit of help tonight. It wasn't all bad, like I said. Luka played 34 minutes. Dorian Finney-Smith played 29. He had 10 points, 2 boards, 3 steals. He was 4 for 9 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. And I believe he hit his first shot tonight, and I was excited thinking, maybe he's going to have a good night, blah, 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 but it did not continue. THJ played 28 minutes, 10 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 4 for 12 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and several moments when he pulled shots that he had no business pulling. A lot of the bad habits appear to be creeping back up with Tim Hardaway Jr., and it's not what you want to see right now. It's really not. He makes some good things happen, but those bad habits are still there. Josh Richardson played 27 minutes. He had 17 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, and 2 steals. 6 for 12 from the field, 2 for 5 for 3. Again, he didn't have a bad shooting night either. 3 for 3 from the line also. There was a moment when Montrezl Harrell was very vocal, and he said something to Rick Carlisle, I believe, and it was very probably disrespectful. He was saying stuff to Rick Carlisle like there was some type of personal, I don't know. We joked on the pirate radio, the Mavs pirate radio, which, again, few people popped in, so we'll probably do it again on Sunday. We joked on the Mavs pirate radio that whatever Harold was saying was probably tied to the offer that the Mavs gave him in free agency. And but Josh Richardson was getting in there, confronting the yapping, which is hilarious to see from Montrezl Harrell, who just hopped from one team that failed to a better team, and then wants to bump his gums. But it is what it is. And then finally, the fifth starter. I'm not going to go where I could go, but the fifth starter, Dwight Powell, 23 and a half minutes, I should say. 11 points, very respectable. 3 boards, an assist, 3 steals. He was actually 4 for 4 from the field. He hit his only 3-point attempt. 2 for 4 from the line, but it is what it is. It's whatever. But the box score doesn't tell the story with that. He had the early assignment on Anthony Davis, and it did not go well. I think that would probably be an understatement. Davis, he finished with 28, 8, and 5 in 30 minutes. LeBron had 22, 7, and 10 in 31 minutes. Dennis Schroeder had 18 points, 6 assists. Gasol played 19 minutes, had 9 boards. Harrell had 22 points and 7 boards. Kyle Kuzma had 13 and 6 boards. Markieff Morris had 9 points and 7 boards. Just rebounds upon rebounds upon rebounds. And the person with the most rebounds for the Mavs was Maxi Kleber with 5. Maxi, by the way, played, did he play 20 minutes? He played 20 minutes, so not as many as he did in the last game. Maxi was 5 points, 5 boards, 2 steals, 1 for 2 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. Did not get those open looks. Trey Burke actually did step up. He played 24 and a half minutes, 17 points, a rebound, 2 assists, 1 block, 5 for 10 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, 3 for 4 for the line. So I was very glad to see Burke. Burke and Richardson both stepped up in the second half to try to make things happen. I liked that Rick Carlisle went with Burke as a point guard off the bench versus trying to use him and Brunson together after Brunson struggled some in this game. I don't know if that double short guy lineup is going to work. That might need to be something that changes long term. Willie Cauley-Stein played 14 minutes. He had 2 boards, 2 steals, and a block. 0 for 3 from the field, and I believe all those were lob attempts. No, one was a pass that Luka put in his chest that should have been a lob. But again, that's part of not getting those regular minutes. Like, Luka hasn't gotten the opportunity to learn where to put the ball for him. I think one of the lob attempts that he failed to catch was Luka threw it too high. Yeah, it's bad. Our big man situation is bad. You remember I was doing the prayers on the timeline on Twitter asking for a big man, and the only answer we got was Willie Cauley-Stein, and it was like, okay, maybe Willie Cauley-Stein has a chance to prove something, but it's definitely not the optimal solution that we could have gotten. We could have done better in fulfilling that role. And again, it's not just about having a big man. To have a big man, it's, for me, I would love to have a person that can do just the bare minimum, ho-hum, 8 points, 8 boards, and a paint presence. But if you have someone who can also become a second option while KP is out, that would have been fantastic. But we didn't do that. We didn't have that type of vision. And we were focused on things beyond our control in the off season. We're trying to save money, keep the powder dry, and all that good stuff. There is a guy that is out there that could fulfill that type of role and still keep the powder dry. But we won't say any names on this podcast. Who else do we have here that saw some significant? Well, Jalen Brunson, I mentioned earlier, he played about 14 minutes as well. 4 points, 2 boards, and an assist. 2 for 5 from the field. Weird night from Jalen Brunson. He was the guy that stepped up for us late last game, but in this one, he just didn't have it. James Johnson played 12 minutes, 4 points, a rebound, 4 assists, and a steal. Played some great defense on LeBron. If I were to add to the list of positives that we saw from this game, it would have to be James Johnson as a guy to add toughness and perimeter defense on a big wing, which Maxey was probably the best player we had for that previously. So I mentioned, coming into the season, Maxey and James Johnson are the two that we need as that secondary, like, big wing, stretch four, whatever, defender. And I like that tandem. I still like the idea of starting James Johnson with KP when KP returns, for example. So that's where I stand on that. Who else do we have? Boban played 7 minutes, 6 points and a board, 3 points, or 3 for 4 from the field, I should say. I love Boban. Wish he was more than a novelty and social media darling. I wish he at this point was getting real minutes. I don't care about your whole... I mentioned this during the Pirate Radio too. So the whole we can't play Boban can't play big minutes because he'll get isolated, blah, 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 blah. I think this, again, comes back to having vision and understanding the flow of the game and stuff like that. So if you put Boban out there and a team decides that they're going to try to get him on an island and ISO him, the team is out of their rhythm. They're not playing their game. Are you going to give up shots? Yes, you're going to give up shots. But in that scenario, my goal is to have Boban keep that person in front of him. And if we can force that person to take a three, perfect. Because the average 3-point percentage, again, is 37%. And if it's Steph, then it's Steph. Like, doesn't matter who was guarding him in most scenarios. That's the argument I hate. Like, what if he gets switched on to an elite shooter? Well, elite shooter was going to do elite shooter things regardless. I would rather have that person get out of the team's rhythm and offense and force trying to dribble and do something against Boban. And then on the other hand, or knowing that they aren't going to go to the paint usually as hard, but then on the other end, being able to throw it into Boban and either let him score an easy 2 points or draw the defense in and work it around the perimeter. Because, again, inside out is how you want to work if you're trying to be a shooting team, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, I'll even add that. So, other notable things in the box score for the Mavs. Josh Green, Wundu played 2 minutes, 23 seconds. Wundu got, I believe, his first bucket as a Mav. So he's on the board. And then Tyrell Terry played 1 minute and 42 seconds. Had 2 points and an assist. And his 2 points came right as the game ended, like a buzzer beater layup through traffic. So congratulations to Tyrell Terry. You officially scored your first NBA points, 100% from the field. So happy for him. That's all I got on the box. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth, man. I stayed up with the same guys on that pirate video till it is 6:26 a.m. right now. So, again, I'm tired. I'm out of it. If I don't sound great, I'm sorry. So we'll take another quick break, and then we will hop in and do these questions that I got from you guys. I'm excited to get into those. Okay, welcome back. We're going to get into some questions. I put the call out. I actually put the call out really late too. But you guys responded, and I do appreciate you for that. So, first question comes from Grace. And Grace said, did you have a good Christmas? I did actually. Some of you may know based on what I put on the timeline, but my sister was diagnosed with COVID at the beginning of the month. And after her 14 days, she went and got tested again, and she was diagnosed again. And she was still positive. And that was on the 15th or so. So they gave her 10 days the second time, which came out to Christmas, basically. So we still did the social distance thing. We still wore masks and all that, but we did get to exchange gifts, I spent some time with my niece, who seems to have grown a lot over these past 3 weeks where I haven't been able to spend time with her. And she's got a big personality now. She's about a little over 6 months, so that was great. And I watched Soul with my mom, which was a really good Disney Plus movie, Soul. And spoke with my dad briefly, hit up my closest friends, wish them a Merry Christmas and all that. It was a good day. All things considered, in the pandemic and whatnot, it was a good Christmas. Thank you for asking. For Faz 711. What is the most realistic way for the Mavericks? I just put these in question, the order that I got them. I usually rearrange them, but it is what it is. So Fazal said, what is the most realistic way for the Mavericks to stop spoiling themselves, barring a trade or Kristaps returning? There is no way without those two things happening, quite honestly. I have no faith in Rick Carlisle to make a dramatic change to his rotations. And even if he did, there's no real answer, in my opinion. Boban is probably the most reliable big in any sense on the team. I think Willie Cauley-Stein has the ability to be the most reliable, but he's still acclimating, just like a lot of the guys are, and him acclimating in the primary rotation makes it look much worse. So the more he plays, the more we're going to see those small issues with him not being as comfortable as we would need someone to be in our system. The fact that Dwight Powell still is able to get those minutes comes with his familiarity with the system, despite his lack of ability. MFFL 77. Oh, let me go back. Most realistic way would honestly be to mix up the big man rotation, play Boban every game, 5 minutes, end of the first, into the second, 5 minutes, second half as well, like we did in the bubble, and then mix and match with Dwight Powell and Willie Cauley-Stein. Like, they should be playing about the same minutes, but I would prefer to see Dwight Powell against backups and Willie against starters, personally. That's really the best I can do as far as that. I do think we probably need to make a move. And I think that the way that these contracts have gone is conducive to us being able to make a move, or trying to look to make a move sooner rather than later. And then, of course, KP coming back will also help. But I don't think it's the answer, as I mentioned earlier. MFFL 7741 said, do you think we trade for someone mid-season? KP so unreliable injury-wise, and these role players can't step up to help Luka. Again, I don't want to be doom and gloom over these first couple of games, but again, we have a very glaring weakness, and that area of weakness is not a strength of Kristaps either. So, in my opinion, it would behoove us to make a move to try to solve those issues. And do I think we'll do it? I think that the likelihood of us doing it has increased dramatically. And you mentioned KP's injury history. Again, if KP didn't have an injury history, I would say sign Taj Gibson or something, like sign a guy like a Taj Gibson to do the dirty work, to hustle on the glass and be a problematic interior defender. But with KP's injury history, I feel like we can invest more in having a big that can do more than just the dirty work and can help Luka with creating an inside-out situation where Luka doesn't have to be the only player that's capable of getting points inside the paint on a regular basis, to keep our offense balanced. I believe the likelihood of that happening has dramatically increased. To the Future 22 said, if we start 0-5, because I think it's definitely possible, did the Mavs think about firing Rick? No, I don't think they're firing Rick Carlisle. The issues that we have are not Rick Carlisle's fault. If anything, the front office should realize that they maybe need to give up on keeping that powder dry. It's time to moisten up that powder, dampen that powder. _Mayfield_3. Are Mavs fans spoiled by success in comparison to other franchises? The Mavs have one title in 40 years. The Mavs had a good team for a decade and pretty buns the rest of those 40 years. Yeah. And maybe it was a little bit more than a decade, right? It was from about 2000 to 2012 or 11, technically. So a little bit more than that, but there are teams that have been worse, that have had it worse than the Mavs. But I think when you have a guy who is tabbed as the favorite to win MVP, and you have people calling your team a top 5 power ranked team, I think you earn a little bit of a right to be disappointed when they don't look like that when they step on the basketball court. There was somebody on the timeline earlier who was saying that, or asked me while I was complaining about things that were happening on the court, if I expected to win the game. And it's like, what? I'm not allowed to be disappointed my team is losing? Like, do you think Detroit Lions fans wake up in the morning, put on their Lions gear and say, let's go watch this loss? And like, that's just normal. They're supposed to do that. No, you hope your team wins, even if it's not likely. You hope that your team wins. And when your team is doing things, like if they were playing their hearts out and things were going against them either way, then you can live with that. But when there's small little dumb things that are happening, you're gonna call those things out. And that's what was happening tonight. There are very obvious flaws and very obvious decisions that are not helping us combat those flaws. And so those are the things I'm going to complain about. Now, if Luka's pressing, and I know it's because nobody's moving and nobody's doing anything, I'll say that too. But if Luka's pressing and it looks like it's because KCP has gotten in his head, I'm going to mention that as well. The Lakers are better than us, but the way they beat us did not have to go the way that it did. JJKV number 2. Why are we a bad rebounding team? You're gonna make me do a little bit of research here. We don't have any. We look at who we play. Look at who is on the court for the Dallas Mavericks. The only person on this team, and I'm verifying this really quick. Let me verify. I'm going to do a quick couple of Google searches. Willie Cauley-Stein, the highest rebound total he has averaged was 8.4 rebounds per game when he was playing 27 minutes a game. He averages 6 rebounds a game for his career. Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell has never averaged more than 5.7 rebounds per game. It has not happened. And that was last year when he was playing 26 minutes a game. 5.7 rebounds. Maxey. Maxey with the Kleba. Love you, Maxey. But rebounding. He averaged 5.2 rebounds a game last year, playing 25 minutes a game. Who else we got? Boban? Should I do Boban? Let's do Boban. I guess he got on the court today, right? So Boban has never averaged more than 5 rebounds a game. But of course, he's also never averaged more than 14 minutes a game, which is how many he was averaging when he had the 5 rebounds. So, who's supposed to rebound on this team? Dorian Finney-Smith. Let's look at Dorian. Dorian Finney-Smith has never averaged more than 5.7 rebounds, which again he also did last year when he was playing 30 minutes a game. Luka's supposed to do literally everything for this team. Let's look at Luka. Luka averaged 8 rebounds a game last year. But again, we shouldn't be expecting Luka to do everything, right? We don't have a rebounder on this team. We have no one that cleans the glass. We don't box out. We don't have people who are instinctive rebounders that are passionate about going up. As Jonathan Motley. Was it Jonathan Motley? No, it was not Damari Carroll. What's his name? Damn it. Oh, man. Oh, I'm looking it up. Y'all can wait for me to look this up. This is what happens when you're up till 6:40. Torian Prince. Gosh. All right, Torian Prince. When he talked about the rebounds. Matter of fact, I like audio clips in my show. I like audio clips. So let's do that. Let's get the Torian Prince going. But yeah, we just don't have those people that rebound. We just don't have those people on our roster, and we need that, clearly. That is a area of need for us. Don't care.
How's that happen?
Are you directing that towards anyone?
Gentleman who just talked about getting out rebounded. He had the stat sheet.
Torian?
Sorry, you said how do
They have more rebounds
You
than
said
us?
he got out rebounded. I was surprised. You did. 36-32.
How does Yale out-rebound Baylor?
You go up and grab the ball off the rim when it comes off, and then you grab it with two hands, and you come down with it, and that's considered a rebound. So they got more of those than we did.
And that's just the end of it. Like, they had more of those than we did because we don't have people that get those. We don't have people that box out. We don't have people that can go up and grab a board and throw elbows out and flare and end the possession. So that leads to second chance points. In this case, 35 second chance points for the Lakers. And we had 0 second chance points because, again, rebounding is just not what our people do. We don't have a rebounder. We don't have a person to clean the glass. And I'm glad that the whole facade, the whole charade, the whole mystique, whatever you want to call it, of this whole team rebounding thing is starting to diminish. The team rebounding is cool, but having someone who is built in as that is also cool. Like having 5 guys that can't fight but work together to beat up somebody, that's cool. But having one guy with hands would be great as well. You know what I'm saying? What else we got? We got A_D Mavs. When will we get our first W, and why is it when Powell won't be starting? To be honest, I think we could beat the Clippers still. I think that they might press to try to silence us for what happened in the playoffs type of thing. And we got Kawhi now with the stitches from the bad injury or the elbow that he took. But realistically, it should be the Hornets. Cody Zeller is out, so Bismack Biyombo might have a 2020 game on us based on how we look right now. But the Hornets are a young team, and we have good perimeter defenders that should be able to slow down Graham and or Rozier. And then they're playing LaMelo Ball, big minutes off the bench, and he's been loose with that ball lately. I think we should be able to handle the Charlotte Hornets. They don't really have somebody that can really do anything with Luka either. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't say I will put money on that right now, the way we look. But we should be able to beat the Hornets. Powell or no Powell. But you make a point. You make a point about Powell starting. Powell starting does not. It doesn't need to happen. Don't care what anybody says. Dwight Powell needs to be playing against backup big men, not starters. And this goes back to even understanding that Willie Cauley-Stein is not perfect. He gives you a little bit more. He gives you the potential for a little bit more. He'll make some mistakes, but he'll also make some good plays that we're not getting out of, that are not possible out of Powell. I think Powell could flourish in a bench role with Maxey like they had in the past. That's what I want for him. Who are some obtainable targets that the Mavs should go after before the trade deadline for help? Andre Drummond. Is it still annoying? Is it annoying yet? Have you cut the podcast off yet? Andre Drummond is a logical. He even satisfies your dry powder scenario. You want your powder dry? He's an expiring contract. What else? You want me to find some more expiring contracts we could trade for? Let's do that. Let's find some more expiring contracts that we could trade for that could help this team, considering what our biggest issue is. So Giannis is off the board, right? We're not going after Giannis. Gobert's off the board. Most of the guys on the short list are guards. Blake Griffin. Can we go for Blake Griffin? I would go for Blake Griffin at this point. Gladly. Give me Blake Griffin. Player option on his. But, yeah, give me Blake Griffin. I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting out of Detroit. Steven Adams signed an extension, I believe. This is an old article. Yeah, give me somebody large that takes up space in the paint, can be a second option. A guy who can be a second option in a pinch. That is a big man that does things that big men do that we can't currently do. And just to satisfy you guys' needs, they can be an expiring contract. I'm trying to limit it to expiring contracts for you. Would the Hawks trade us John Collins? Do we have enough to get John Collins from the Hawks? Probably not. Jared Allen, restricted free agent. Do the Nets want to pay him? They don't want to start him for whatever reason. So could we get Jared Allen? That would be a beautiful pickup. Cody Zeller would have been on my list if he wasn't hurt. I'm just going through every single team right now. Again, I already mentioned Drummond. I already mentioned Griffin as well. Blake Griffin has a player option on his, but we're going to call him expiring for the time being. I'm going through. I'm still looking. Gorgie Deng. Should we look at Gorgie Deng of the Grizzlies? Maybe. I don't know. You know, my answer remains top of the list is Drummond. The Bucks seem to be in a good place. Could we get Ed Davis from the Timberwolves? I think he might have just signed a new contract, so they might not be able to trade him. Some burnt bridges out here that I have to ignore when I look through this list. Shout out to anybody listening to me because I'm rambling and I'm tired. It's almost 7 a.m. Phoenix Suns. No, we can't get anybody from them. Portland. Would Portland trade us Zach Collins? I don't know. Should we call him? Maybe. Could we get Rashawn Holmes from the Kings? I'd be interested in that. Give me Rashawn Holmes. He does the dirty work. The Spurs, should we look at Aldridge? Does Aldridge work with KP? I think he works more inside than KP. Could we get him to do that rebounding for us? I know a lot of these guys just signed new deals, but that's it. That's the list. I went through every single NBA team who's expiring next year. So that's the list, all right? Woolsey said, is DP the worst center on the roster? Yes. No, let me stop. Let me dial that back. If I had to give 2K ratings to Dwight Powell, Boban, and Willie Cauley-Stein, they'd all be within a point or two of each other. They'd all be like 69, 70, 71 for whatever reason. Boban because he's not laterally quick. And if he's not ready to start going towards the rim for the block, or he's not already in position when you're coming down, he's not going to be able to adjust on the fly to get a stop on the defensive end at the rim. Willie Cauley-Stein, super athletic, but his hands don't appear to be as great as they need to be, which is an issue Dwight Powell has as well. Maybe because of his short arms. Dwight Powell runs around really hard, does not take rim protection personally at all, and is not a great rebounder. So all of them have huge flaws. None of them are great. We have no good centers. I know people think centers are not a thing that matter, but look at all the teams that win games. Find me one that doesn't have a respectable interior presence. Somebody that can score in the interior, or somebody that rebounds and or takes up space in the interior in some way, shape, or form. Find me the contender and let me know. I don't know. My brain is fried right now. I'm so tired. I can't think. But tell me the team. Please hit me up on Twitter. Tell me the team that does not have a big man that does things that are better than... That is not... Give me a team that doesn't have a center better than Dwight Powell on their starting lineup. That's a playoff team. My man Rohan asked, is Mavs Twitter just looking for reasons to be toxic at this point? I don't think so. I think that there are a lot of different personalities and backgrounds and fan relationships out there, and that we all just disagree. We simply disagree. And we're going to continue to disagree. And that's okay. That's fine with me. I'm not arguing with people on the timeline. I can't do it anymore. I'm too old. Doing way too many things. I don't have the energy or time to be arguing with people about things that I am already confident about. Now, if we get into a debate about something that's debatable, fine. But if I've already stated my opinion on something, you know where I stand. I'm probably not going to argue with you about it. Unless something dramatically changes and I need to take back something I've said. How do you think the Mavs fix this rebounding problem other than adding a healthy KP? And again, I don't think adding a healthy KP answers the problem. That was from AdHikarB3. AdHikarB, the number 3. How do we fix this other than adding KP? I don't think KP answers the question. I think we still have issues after KP comes back. It might not look as bad because we'll score more points, but we'll still have issues. Are the Mavs a lock for the playoff? Question comes from Aon, AYAWN 97. Are the Mavs a lock for the playoffs? I still say so. I'm not gonna say that we're suddenly not a playoff team. Especially if you consider top 10 with the play-in games, a lock for the playoffs. I still think we're a lot better than those teams at the bottom of the West. Right now, we probably would lose to some of those teams, but at full strength, I think we're pretty safe to be in the playoffs. Beefsteak said, does Luka's attitude as of late bother anyone else? No, I won't say his attitude bothers me. I actually feel sorry for him because it looks like he's having to do way more than he should have to do on a team that's supposed to be in the playoffs. And we're not giving him enough help right now. And KP being hurt is whatever. He's having to do way too much because we don't have enough other things. Now, again, I appreciated seeing Richardson and Trey Burke step up tonight, and maybe we'll get more of that going forward. But yeah, I mostly feel sorry for Luka, quite honestly. He hasn't been as bad with the refs, but he did say our beefsteak added, he's our man, there's no doubt about it, but it's worrisome to see him complain so often. Again, I don't think he's been as bad with the refs as he has been in the past, but and I think one of the things I mentioned is I like to see him talk to the refs off to the side, like not during plays, but that's a work in progress. So far, it feels like he's done a little bit better in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not paying as much attention. Tall Traveler 1, Merry Christmas, brother. Did you see anything good to take from tonight's game? And then he added, for me, maybe forcing the turnovers, but what good are they if they get blown out anyways? So again, I like what I saw from Richardson and Trey Burke stepping up. I think Trey Burke is doing what I thought he would have done in the preseason type thing, or not preseason, but when we brought him back, the idea of bringing him back, I thought that he might be fighting Jalen Brunson for minutes, and he might win that battle. Early season, we've gone with those two being a tandem. It is 6:59 a.m. I'm sorry, y'all. I just yawned dead in the mic. But anyway, Burke and Richardson stepping up, being able to take over for stretches is a positive. Rick Carlisle acknowledging that we have an issue with rebounding is a positive. What else? There was something else I wanted to acknowledge. We did a decent job on the shooting tonight, I guess. We saw some good defensive stops out of James Johnson, and I think the defensive stoppers are getting more comfortable, and that's again good signs. Those are the things we want to see. What else do we have? Okay, Chill. I think this is the last one. Chillin' Godos. Do the FIFA kids have a makeup accountability problem? I don't even know what that means. Sorry, brother. Is Johnson the solution? Will Rick Carlisle start him? I would like to see, like I mentioned, James Johnson start when KP returns. I want Dorian Finney-Smith to go to that bench unit. Not because Dorian Finney-Smith isn't good, but it seems like we're married to the idea. Well, we should be married to the idea of keeping THJ attached to Luka, because that's the only way to control him from firing 50 shots a game like he's the best player on the team. So I want the 4-5 to be James Johnson, KP, because I know James Johnson's going to do the dirty work based on our roster composition right now. So then the bench would be probably Burke, Brunson, or Josh Green, depending on how visionary you want to be. DFS, Powell, and Maxey. I like that grouping. Who would you start at the 4 next to KP? I already answered that. James Johnson. Should Rick Carlisle play Jay Rich more on ball, side, pick and roll, or ISO, involve in more actions? Dwight Howard cutting, parking, corner. Yes, I do agree. I would like to see more plays for Jay Rich drawn up. We did some, but it would be nice to get Luka some plays off from time to time. He shouldn't have to be the guy every single possession. That shouldn't be a problem. I would love to see Jay Rich get more responsibility in creating offense. What else do we have? I think that was it. So My parting thought and parting question of the night. We're going into this game against the Clippers on Sunday. I know there's a strong contingent of Mavs fans that are very married to the Dwight Powell thing. They don't see any reason to change. I'm wondering what it'll take for you as a Mavs fan to say that maybe we should try something else, that we can do better. And at what point do you see maybe the value of Andre Drummond? For those of you who hate Andre Drummond, at what point do you think it's fine to give Willie Cauley-Stein a chance to play the primary big minutes instead of Dwight Powell? Or to make a move for any type of, I want to say traditional center, but to have, like, at what point do we acknowledge or admit that maybe there was a flaw in our thinking with roster composition? Or do we just accept that the front office never makes any mistakes? For me, I think that even I was a little bit naive as to what our situation was coming into this year, and the fact that I almost accepted that they didn't get the big man that I wanted. And when I say the big man I wanted, I don't mean a specific player. I mean, my short list said big man. And the only big man we brought in was Willie Cauley-Stein, who we re-signed for twice what he was making previously. So we didn't fulfill my need. I wanted a guy who could be an insurance policy for KP. We did not get that. So at what point do we acknowledge that maybe that's something we are going to need before the season is over? And that's it. So I'm not excited about this game against the Clippers that we have coming up. They have Big Zoo. I watched Ibaka tonight. I think of him as a perimeter guy, but he was doing a great job of focusing in the paint, making sure he was there for rebounds and hitting little mid-range jumpers. So I'm not excited about Dwight Powell or Willie Cauley-Stein having to deal with either of those guys right now. But, anything is possible. Anything is possible. So go Mavs. I will be here Sunday, 3:30 Eastern time to watch you play the Clippers. And hope that something looks different. Hope that something has changed. Hope that maybe Rick Carlisle is willing to try something else, because what we've been doing at this point is not working. I'm literally falling asleep right now. I'm going to end this podcast. I apologize that it took me so long to get through these questions. I will catch you guys Sunday. I will not do the pirate radio until 7 in the morning next time, I promise. Peace.